Hey guys, HM here once again with another Zelda Breath of the Wild video with something that flew, for me at least, and I haven't really noticed a lot of people talking about this in recent months because, I mean, if you guys were talking about it, I would have caught it, and a lot of us would have caught it, but I'm pretty sure some of you guys caught it, but I feel that for the most part, it fell under the radar. This little tiny tidbit on Breath of the Wild. Speaking of which, Breath of the Wild, peep my new pin. I don't got a problem with pins. Yeah, so guys, with an interview with Famitsu, Hidemura Fujibashi, director of Breath of the Wild, along with producer Eiji Aonuma, had this to say about the story inclusion, because Fujibashi recently had an interview, and I covered that, where it's like, oh, where does Breath of the Wild take place in the timeline? Alright guys, we're ready! And it turns out that he says it's the farthest game out of all Zelda games. But that doesn't tell us which timeline it is. But in this interview that happened before this, with Famitsu, Eiji Aonuma and Hidemura Fujibashi said about the story and where does it take place in the giant Zelda chronology. Fujibashi teased and said that, oh, we'll leave it up to your imagination. We have all these things and tidbits from other past Zelda games that are within Breath of the Wild that will tickle your fancies, but we ain't gonna give you a story or anything like that. But Aonuma was less fidgety about that and had this to say when it comes to the history of Hyrule in terms and relation to Breath of the Wild, that since this game, now that we know it's so far gone, more than 10,000 years past at least the latest Zelda game, it's been so far gone that the history, the canonicity of the Zelda story and chronology tends to get corrupted by speech or in time, and that's something that I talked about with a Triforce theory I had not too long ago. If you want to check it out, I'm going to leave it out in the annotations or in the end slate below. But that's something that happens with history overall, period. No matter where you're from, no matter what lore you're from, in the real world and everything like that, like, history tends to get corrupted and lost with the passage of time and with the exchange of words going down the line or going up the line or whatever. And he says, if that happens in the real world, why can't it happen in Hyrule? If history books tend to get updated and changed from what we knew maybe 10, 20, 25 years, 50 years, 100 years prior to what we was understanding it to be, why can't that happen in Hyrule since it's more than 10,000 years since the last battle with Ganon before Calamity Ganon in this game, and 10,000 years plus aside from any other Zelda game. You know, that's what he says. You know, in long and short, I mean, of course, the full interview was in Japanese, and we're taking tidbits on this. I'm gonna leave a link source in the description box. But I feel like, why did this fly under the radar? Or is it just me? I think it might be just me. Leave it in the comment section if it's just me. But with this sense, we have to take that into account when moving forward with Zelda games or moving forward with Breath of the Wild theories. And I've had this theory blowing up for the longest, and thankfully this piece of information does not challenge that theory. But when we're talking about where this game takes place in the timeline, now we know that the history of Hyrule as it's presented to us in Breath of the Wild, of course, it's tampered with, it's corrupted, it's, you know, it got messed up, it got disillusioned throughout all those years of time along the lines going up to Breath of the Wild. And I wonder if that really applies to us as Zelda players, Zelda historians and all that stuff, because I mean, we played the games prior to Breath of the Wild. We know what happens for a fact, but then certain things that are talked about in legend in Breath of the Wild doesn't make any sense, or doesn't make much sense in relation to the games that came before it. But we know the truth. So when Eiji Aonuma talks about that, and you know, the whole corruption in history books, is our knowledge getting corrupted? I don't think so, because we've played the games up until Breath of the Wild. So, like, you know, we've watched the history go with our with, like, you know, an eye of a hawk. We've been seeing that thing happening in real time, but not the people, not the history of Hyrule within the Zelda games. It doesn't really, you know, fly that way at least, you know. So when they take something like, oh, the Zora's talking about Princess Rutu and the hieroglyphics in the Zora area in Breath of the Wild, there's a lot of information there, but some of it doesn't really make sense when you're applying to other areas. Like, I stand by this too. When Zelda's talking about the speech is like, oh, whether it be Skyward Bound, Adrift in Time, or Steeped in the Embers of Twilight. Okay, I get that child timeline. That points to the child timeline. However, the Zora hieroglyphics points to the fact that they are saying that Princess Rutu fought alongside the hero against Ganon of that time, and we know that, yeah, that happens all Korean time. But wait, if it's a child timeline, that event would have never happened because Link goes back to the past to stop the events of Ocarina of Time from happening, henceforth the child timeline. But at the same time, going back to what they're saying, Ajunu is saying about how history changes and gets corrupted and all that stuff, and it's constantly changing and updating. You know, could it be possible that word from at least someone, maybe Link, who is the only person who experienced everything that happened in Ocarina of Time going forward in the child timeline, he knew what was up. He had to tell that story to someone for it to make sense. He had to snitch on Ganondorf to the king and Zelda and tell his whole story. It's like, yes, I did all this. Oh, by the way, yeah, I had a lot of help along the way. Princess Rutu helped me. And then that could have been taken and gone into the annals of history in that sense. Am I making any sense? I'm not crazy. I'm just theorizing in real time right now. But I feel that we need to apply this notion to where this game could truly take place in the timeline, because there is no solid, I wouldn't say proof, that's not the right word. There is no solid confirmation from any part of Nintendo of where this game takes place in the timeline. Alright? And from what we are seeing, that it is a possibility that this game could take place in either one of the three timeline ends, or, as a lot of people are saying, could be a dragon break and be all the timelines falling on top of each other. But I still don't. I don't want to entertain that notion, because that like when they say Zelda timelines, it's not really just, you know, a timeline, one timeline. It's universes. It's multiple universes. And a breach in time creates multiple universes, and it's not like, oh, it's not as simple as a different timeline. It's a different separate universe that has gone from one specific point in history that branched out. And for those to fall on top of each other, what spatial time dimension, warp, reality, time stone, space stone, infinity gauntlet, what am I saying? But I just want to say that now with this piece of information, we have to take into account when it comes to where we place this in the timeline. And also we have to think about the fact, or not the fact, but the notion that maybe this game doesn't even take place in the timeline at all. Maybe it takes place outside the timeline. Maybe it takes place like in the most excruciating what if statement. But at the same time, Aonuma did confirm this game takes place after Ocarina of Time, but will it be part of the official Zelda timeline? It's just like, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. But I still want to believe that this game does take place in the timeline. We do know for a fact it's after Ocarina of Time. It is the most recent Zelda game, period, in any timeline since. And at that point in time from Breath of the Wild, now that we know, or we've known for a couple of months now, that the history of Hyrule has been corrupted, has been trifled with. It's not like people try to write out, it's just like, you know, it's been so long, so history tends to lose itself along the way. So with that being said, we have to apply that with the timeline knowledge. And now I feel this gives way to many different timelines, not timelines, but theories moving forward, not only for Breath of the Wild, but for each specific Zelda game that takes place after a certain Zelda game. And that could explain why Nintendo's way out. This can explain why the stories of the Master Sword were so different in each Zelda game. They were telling about different things, they were saying different origin stories about how in Twilight Princess they said the Master Sword was created by the sages, and then we found out the Master Sword was actually created, it was forged from the God Sword by Link by an extension, the goddess Hylia. And other things like the Gerudo's being missing, the Gerudo's coming back, what's been told about the Gerudo King, 100 years every born male, and all that other stuff. There's so much lore into this entire series, and now that we know that it has the capacity for being lost and corrupted, that could lead to a lot of theories. But I want to get that out to you guys if it wasn't public knowledge, but I'm ready. I am ready, and I hope you guys are ready for some more Zelda theories including this information. So guys, tell me what you think about this prospect, about the corruption of Hyrule's history being told down the line. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know your theories, all your thoughts. And until the next Zelda theory, be sure to like, favorite, share, all that good jazz, and subscribe to HMK. So until the next video, I've been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.